Welcome to the Rush Progression series. If you're here, you're looking to improve your technique for the rushes component of the force test. In this video, we're going to go through first, the first progression, and then secondly, special considerations when going through all of the other progressions. Note that there are four distinct phases where our technique is extremely important in the rush component of the force test. There's leaving the straightaway lines, where we're getting up and running forwards. There's leaving the turnaround lines, or the 20-meter lines, where you get up and you actually have to change directions. And then there's approaching both those lines. The approach is very similar, but slightly different and distinct. You'll notice when we approach the center line, we want to be as close as possible to that line when we do our hand release, so that we can get up and keep going forwards. Whereas the turnaround line, we actually want to be further away from it because we're approaching our goal of turning around and leaving the direction. You'll notice the differences as we get through the progressions. First, let's talk about progression number one. This is our foundation for every single movement. What we want to work on is activating our stabilizing muscle groups, which are our core, our glutes, and our quads. Standing up tall, simply contract your muscles while breathing and hold it for 10 seconds. So your goal is to be able to contract all three of these muscle groups, which seems very easy, but actually it's quite challenging. While you're doing it, use your hands and feel around. Are they still tight, or is one of your muscle groups loosening as you're trying to engage the other ones? Are you able to hold it for 10 seconds without needing to hold your breath? Continue doing this 10 seconds on and 5 to 10 seconds of rest for approximately 2 minutes. I recommend twice a day, maybe while you're brushing your teeth or watching TV, until you feel comfortable that you're able to engage all three of those muscle groups while breathing, and doing so for at least a 10-second period. If you're struggling, start with just one muscle group. I recommend the core to start off with, and then adding the other two. So adding the quads next, and then the glutes, or vice versa. Once you're comfortable with that, you're ready for progression number two. Before ending off this video, as I explained at the beginning, I want to talk about some subtle differences or some key considerations for the rest of the progressions. Progression number two, I recommend doing every single time. As you'll notice, it is hand releases as well as scapular push-ups. And it acts to activate the shoulder muscles before we add in that speed of whatever progression you're on. The second thing is when to incorporate the progressions. While progression number one, you just do whenever, like I said, while you're watching TV or brushing your teeth. All of the other progressions we recommend incorporating into your workout. And here's our recommended sequence. A 5 to 10 minute warm-up that is cardiovascular in nature and light to moderate, something that gets your heart rate up, a little bit of sweat, but nothing that's vigorous or intense in nature. Once you've done that, do some muscle preparatory work, some dynamic warm-up, some drills, some skips, something to get your muscles prepped for what you're about to do. Then throw in some of the progressions. Always doing progression number two, which is your hand releases and your scapular push-ups, and then proceeding to do as many rounds of the progression that you're on that you feel is going to be beneficial for you. Once you've done that, proceed to your workout, whatever it may be, and then do your cool down. Cool down is always 5 to 10 minutes of light cardio once again, and 5 to 10 minutes of light stretching, holding those stretches for 20 to 30 seconds. The other consideration I want you to have in mind is that there are 4 different parts to the progressions. As I explained, leaving the turnaround line, leaving the straightaway lines, and approaching both of those. You may be progressing faster in one of the components of the technique than the other, and that's okay. So for example, I could be progressed all the way to level 7 for my straightaway lines, but still at level 3 for approaching the lines, and maybe level 4 for leaving the turnaround lines, and that's okay. You don't have to be comfortable with the whole package before moving up to the next one. However, if you're at level 7 for one and level 3 and 4 for the other, that maybe is telling you that you don't need to spend as much time on the thing that you're good at, and maybe put your effort where you're not so good to help move through the progressions at a quicker pace. And once you're all on the same playing field, then you can allocate your time evenly between all components of the technique, trying to get to level 8 and being comfortable doing level 8, which is the full technique, before you incorporate it into actual training. Then you're ready to incorporate it into the actual test. Have fun with this, everyone. If you need any questions, my email is linked in the description below. And we do have a force preparatory fitness program that you may want to consider following if you want to put your best foot forwards in being successful for the force test.